OSCAFEST 22! I have a question for you. You ready? Yeah. Are you dead? I've spent so much time with all of you. I've eaten the food, I've talked to the people, and let me tell you, it is an honor and a privilege to be here with you today. We'll get into it. Dave, what an awesome introduction. Thank you. I will also introduce myself. All right, let's get into it. I want to start with a question. Because look, I came here from Germany through London to Lagos. That's a long, thank you. That is a long journey. How many of you have had long journeys? It's long, exactly. You know how that is? You know how that is? And your journey may not even be geographic, right? It might be an interpersonal journey. It might be a career journey. A journey is a journey. So with any journey, I asked myself the question, and I want to present the question to you as well. Why are you here? Why am I here? Why did I fly from Germany to London to Lagos? Why? I've been thinking about this a lot. I feel like we need to understand the motivation behind the things we do, especially if it's getting on a plane and hanging out in a different country and so on. So why? And the best answer that I could come up with is an answer in two parts. Part number one is I'm here to be inspired. And let me tell you, like from the moment I landed in the airport and I saw the African vibes of the immigration officers, from the moment I went to the hotel and ate jollof rice and what is it? Goat stew. Oh my God, come on. And then something beautiful happened. I met all of you. People I've spoken to on Twitter, people I've mentored, people I've bought Udemy courses for. I've met you, I've heard your stories face to face, eye level as my equal. What an amazing opportunity. So let me tell you, Lagos, I am inspired to be here. You have inspired me in ways you cannot imagine, and when I leave here, I will leave a much more inspired and healthier person than when I came. Let me tell you. So that's part one. Part two, I'm here to be inspired, but I'm here also to inspire. I'm hoping that in this 20, 25 minutes, 30, whatever we have, maybe 45, I'm hoping to be able to share some things with you that maybe inspire you. Inspire you in the DevRel space specifically, inspire you with documentation and so on. So with that, is that okay? Can we get into that? Yeah. Excellent. An introduction, I'm Tegas. As Dave said, I won't say too much. I tell this to white people, you pronounce it like contagious. To be fair, I don't know what's the African pronunciation here? Someone told me. Tejas. I also, by the way, have African names, so some call me Olakule, Ogenegare, my Igbo name, Chebuzo, right? Anyway, I'm the director of developer relations at Xata. This is called a Xata fly. My friend Anjana, who's here, named it. And this is our logo. What we do is we make data really easy. We make databases and search engines and analytics very accessible to teams. But I'm not here to talk to you about that today. I'm not here to sell you something. This is not a vendor talk, Ben. But it's more of an inspiration of how we're building things, how we approach DevRel, how we approach building what we want to be the best product in the tech industry. Okay, so that's what this talk is about. The talk specifically is about documentation as a service. Documentation as a service, and what does that mean? Well, in this capitalist society, right, we think as a service, so backend as a service, database as a service. We think this as a service is some type of monthly subscription that someone's trying to sell you. I'm not here to sell you any monthly subscription. I'm talking about documentation not as a monthly service you pay for, but as a service to your users. Are you tracking with that? It's an act of service to help your community grow. Okay? So documentation as a service. And what we'll look at is how we're doing it at Xata. So if we talk about motivation, where does this even come from? We believe at Xata, I believe personally, that documentation is key to good developer experience. Can we have some applause? If you believe that, exactly. And this is really important for the early stage startups, but it's equally important for the bigger companies. You see, because for us at Xata, we're creating something. We're bringing a product into the market that doesn't even exist. So can you imagine someone uses it as a beta, they have questions. What do? Google. But there's nothing. What do? Stack Overflow. But there's nothing. So they're going to be confused, they're going to be lost, and we want to care for them. We want to serve them. So we created documentation with that motive. And I really believe developer experience starts with an amazing README and better documentation. So, yeah, you can clap for that if you want. So, to understand how to do docs right, what we're doing, what I've done is we've looked at docs that are not very good. We've looked at docs that struggle. So I travel a lot, I speak to a lot of people, I've spoken to a lot of you, and so I kind of just ask questions. What is the worst documentation you've ever seen, right? And I've got some answers, and I looked at docs that maybe people don't like. And based on this, I was able to identify common problems that documentation has in developer communities that kind of hold people back from using products. And these are, docs are often, and this is the case, this is not every set of documentation, right? This is documentation that people have problems with. I should say problematic docs are often. There wasn't enough space. Anyway, docs are often usually slow, right? So can you imagine a scenario? You're using a product, it's difficult, you have a bug, but you don't know what it means. And then you go to Google, right? You're like, okay, you paste the error message, and then you get a link to the doc site. You click it, and what do you see? Spinners! Like something is spinning for like half an hour, and you don't get your answer. Can you imagine? And then you have to wait like 5 minutes before you actually read the docs. That is a huge problem. We want docs to be fast. We believe that the fastest somebody can identify and fix a problem, the happier they'll be, the better we'll serve them. So the documentation sites that are often problematic are documentation sites that tend to be slow. Number two, I lost the connection to my clicker. I will just awkwardly go over here, okay? Docs are often, where can I put this now? Docs are often, number two, outdated. What does this mean? Like, have you been in an early stage startup? Like, usually the engineering teams are eager, which is a great thing. You build fast, you ship fast, but then the docs kind of get forgotten about. And you ship documentation with to do. or TBD, right? And then people start using your feature, they go to the docs and they find nothing. They get frustrated, understandably. This isn't serving them. So we find that docs often can be problematic when they're outdated. How can we make this problem go away? That's what we'll talk about. Number three, docs are often what we're calling impact opaque. And that means you don't really understand if they're useful. Like I've seen a lot of documentation where it's written by a very smart engineer. The problem with that is, I'm not very smart. And so I'll see words that I don't understand, and at the end, if I don't really understand something, I'm too ashamed. I have imposter syndrome. Anyone else have imposter syndrome? I'm too ashamed to open a GitHub issue and be like, I don't know this, can you? Because I'm scared. As a person of color and tech, I'm scared that some guy's going to be like, well, you don't know that? How could you? Right? So the worst docs I've seen, they don't account for this. They don't account for the psychological safety of people wanting to ask for clarification, asking for help. You don't really know if the impact is valuable. So how can we fix it? So at Xata, we're aware of this. We're trying to do better. And so I can tell you today that we have docs, and to the best of our ability, our docs they're fast. They're quite fast. And don't take my word for it. We'll have demos. We'll have everything. Chi and his team have worked really hard to kind of set us up for success here. So we'll look at some stuff. Number two, our docs we call them evergreen. They're constantly up to date. Why? Because we don't really intentionally write them. A lot of them, majority of them, I would say, is generated from source code. And we look at that too. And then number three, impactful. We've taken a lot of effort to measure the impact of our docs and allow people to say, hey, that doesn't make any sense. You use the word CMS. What is I don't know what CMS means. So we make it accessible for people to give us feedback and therefore measure the impact. So if I say it's good, it's because people tell us, right? It's not because I have a giant ego, which also may be the case. So how are we doing this? Let's talk about each of these right now. How are our docs fast? There's technical things we're going to talk about, but before I do that, let me just prove to you how fast. Would you like to see how fast they are? So, I exit. This is raw mode here, right? And we'll go to the browser. This is our docs, docs.xata.io. You're welcome to check it out. But what I want to do is I want to use Lighthouse. How many of you have heard of or used Lighthouse? Right, not a lot. So Lighthouse is a thing built into your browser that will measure performance and give you a score, 0 to 100. 0 means it's bad, it's slow, it's not accessible. 100 means it's actually extremely good. No room for improvement, or maybe very little, okay? So if we take this in Lighthouse, this is what Lighthouse looks like in your DevTools, and you click Generate Report, and you get a little report here. So our Lighthouse score on this site is 95. 95. Thank you. Sometimes it's 100, depending on the network. To be fair, Lighthouse may not be the best, but it's definitely a good metric. But you'd probably want to factor out like your network when doing tests like this, right? So you'd probably use something in the cloud. Either way, a simple example, but this is how we're approaching docs. And so the question you might be having now is, how is it fast? What did I do? What's the secret sauce? Let's talk about the technical details. And to do that, we'll look at source code. So this is the repo on GitHub. Oh, sorry, not on GitHub, on VS Code. Microsoft, all the same. Anyway, it's a Next.js application. Next.js, in my opinion, is, I heard a woo. Next.js is the best way to build React apps for me personally. Like, I absolutely love Next.js. And let's look at how Next.js helps us make this fast. By the way, I'm not trying to sell you Next.js. It's free and open source. I just like it, okay? So how's this repo structured? We have a directory here called content. And in content, there's some folders and files. Content, concepts, branches, for example. This is just Markdown. It's text with a little bit of formatting, okay? Each file here maps directly to a path in the browser's address bar, to a URL. So concepts, branches. So this, do you see how fast that loaded, by the way? So /concept/branches is in my address bar. And it's literally this file here from the file system. We just wrap some HTML around it and ship it. This way, anybody can write our docs. They just need to know Markdown. They don't need to know anything else. They don't need to know a CMS or anything. It's the most accessible way for technical people or developers, because Markdown is, I would say, some type of prerequisite. So that is one way. And then we have a page here called slug.tsx. For those of you who know TypeScript, what we do is we export two functions. Function number one, get static paths. What this does is it reads the folder in a nested way, gets every Markdown file as a path, content/concept/branches, and just creates an array. That's it. And it exports this to Next.js and tells it, this is every possible path on your web page. Go to anything else, and it'll be a 404. So that's get static paths. Get static props is when you have a specific path. So in this case here, in the browser, I'm in /concepts/branches, right? So that's the path. And so when you have a definite path, what it's doing here is it's getting the slug from the path. Can you see that? Is my font size okay? Great. And what we're doing is we're reading that one file as text, and we pass it as props to a React component. And then if you know React, you just render the text that you're given as props. There's another function here called persist page to Xata for search. I'm not here to sell you Xata, but we do have a full text search engine that we just call this function, and people, like, you can literally hear. I can search the docs, I can type like workspace, and I get results, right? And I can even like have a typo in it, and our search engine has typo tolerance, and it's performant, and so why not? It was a quick win. So that's how our docs are fast. They are also, because of Next.js, deployed to an edge network. Obina is here from Cloudflare. He's going to be probably talking about that. But we've chosen static site generation for our docs. Static sites are just text files, just HTML. And the beauty of HTML is what? It's just text. It's stateless. And because it's stateless, you can just put it on any number of computers, and the state doesn't change because it's stateless. So then you can put it on 1 million different computers worldwide and serve it to your users close to them. It's faster. What's the alternative? Server-side rendering. You render on the server side. The problem with that is your server makes a network request maybe to a database, gets data, generates a page, and then serves you. So that network hop will slow you down. What's the alternative? Client-side rendering. You load an empty page, you see a spinner, And a request happens that costs you time. So static sites for this kind of thing are absolutely the fastest because everything changes in the repo. So we git push, boom, it updates. That's the strategy we've taken, and that's why we have this Lighthouse like 95. 95, even with videos, we have a lot of videos on our site, 95. So that's one way we're working at Xata to make things fast. Let's look at the slides. Next, our docs are up to date perennially. I hope you enjoy this raw keynote view without the fancy slide. Our docs are up to date. What does that mean? So our docs are a mix of guides, like handwritten, like in nice English with literature degrees, maybe, not really, and API reference. Our entire offering to the business, right, is an API. It's literally an API through which you can connect to it and store data, or query data, search data. Our main product is an API. So it's really important that we have an API reference. Is everyone familiar with APIs, by the way? I don't want to assume anything. You've worked with APIs? Okay. So we need to have on-point API reference, and it needs to be up to date. How do we achieve this? At Xata, OpenAPI is a first-class citizen. What does that mean? Have you heard of OpenAPI, Swagger, right? It's a YAML way of describing a REST API. You write down every path on your API and every operation. So get, post, put, patch, delete, and then per status code you can list responses. So it's a long document. We have this, it's like almost 4,000 lines. But we use OpenAPI in a healthy way, I would say. I'm a bit biased, but here's how we use it. Everything starts with OpenAPI. It's like the foundation. So we have a long OpenAPI file. If somebody wants to add a feature to the backend API, what do? First thing, add it to OpenAPI. If somebody wants to consume the API, what do? Read. So the OpenAPI is the foundation. And from the OpenAPI, we generate source code. We generate the backend API. So you can actually like generate Golang or Node.js or other languages. And Postman, who has a booth in the back here, Ari is here. And if you look at this page on Postman, you can literally like generate server code from OpenAPI for Go, Node.js, Java, Python. Like you just literally generate a full API. The business logic you fill in yourself, right? But from OpenAPI, you can just generate these things. And because of that, if we want to change the API, we start with OpenAPI. If we want to create a front end, we pull from OpenAPI. If we want to create the docs, it comes from OpenAPI. So our docs site is up to date because that thing drives everything. And that's how we're able to achieve up-to-date docs. So if we look over here on the screen, if you go to docs.xata.io/API/OpenAPI, this is public for everyone to see. And this is our OpenAPI document, right? And if I scroll to the bottom, how many lines is this thing? Let's see. It's 3,971 lines. So it's pretty big. But what we do is we have a list of paths, as you can see, right? And each path has a summary, a description, and then a HTTP method or a verb. And per method, you have responses by status code, 404, 200, so on and so forth. So we use this. It's a JSON object. Because it's JSON, we transform it a little bit, and we get this thing. This API reference is 100% generated from the OpenAPI spec. And I can click on anything. So I can click on, let's go to query table, right? This is a popular endpoint. And you see this looks a bit documentation-ish, right? I wrote none of this. It just comes from the API description. And because of that, when somebody wants to change the API with this, they start there, and the docs just stay updated. But why stop there? See, I want to set a high bar to make sure this doesn't get messed up. So I said, let's maybe not stop there. So the OpenAPI project lives in a GitHub repo in Xata, okay? And if someone wants to change it, what do? They open a pull request. So I want to show you something. We have a pull request against our internal private OpenAPI repo that you're not actually supposed to see, but I love all of you, so just don't tell anyone. And what is this? So we add a description field to column. And when somebody opens a pull request here, we have a bot on GitHub that tells you, I don't know if you can read this, it tells you an API reference for this version of the spec can be previewed on our site at this link. And then there's 3 screenshots. There's what the API reference docs look like on main, what they look like on this PR, and a visual diff where it highlights just what changed, where you can look. So if I click this link right now and open the OpenAPI preview, this may take a while. OK, yeah, it's fine. OpenAPI preview. What you see is a big header. Hey, careful. This is not main. This is not production. This is just a preview, right? And you can actually see the changes he made. And surely enough, there is a description here. So this looks good to me. I approve the pull request. The backend is generated. The front end consumes it. The docs are up to date. Everyone's in unison. That is how our API reference is up to date. And we're really proud of this. It just works. We're thankful for it. All right, let's go. Number 3. We want our docs to be impactful. I feel like you can have the best documentation in the whole world, but if people don't use it, if people don't benefit from it, what again is the point? Right? So we want our docs to be impactful. And I've read far too many docs where I didn't understand things. I'm just be honest with you. So how can we make sure our docs are having a reasonable impact? To do this, we need to realize that we are prone to make mistakes. I am prone to make mistakes. So because of that, let me show you 2 ways we're making our docs a bit more impactful at Xata. So if you go here, this is our doc site, as we talked about. And you can literally actually, this is a preview. You see that? Let's go to main. So literally anywhere you are, if you see something and you don't understand it, you can highlight it. So I don't know what API means, for example. I'm showing you a mistake we made. We didn't expand this acronym. There's no contextual link. It's a huge problem. So say I don't know what an API is. I'm new. I highlight, and what do I see? Please clarify this. And so what does that even do? I click it. Let's take a look. We click it flagging. And it says here, very small, I don't know if you can see that, thank you, we've notified the docs maintainers, we'll resolve it. But does anything happen? Docs right now is not yet open source. It probably will be. But let me show you what happens internally when that happens. So we go to github.com/xata.io/docs, and we check the issues. And look at this, 19 seconds ago, clarification from docs site. All right, let's click on that. The issue, please clarify the following API on this page. Now, notice who opened the issue. Was it someone I'm going to judge? Oh, they just don't get it. No, I don't care who opens the issue. An inexperienced person, someone early in their career, someone I don't care where they come from or what their experience is. If it's unclear to one, it's unclear to all. And so it's anonymous. I have notification that this is unclear, and someone on my team, or me myself, I'll go fix this. And that's one way we measure that our docs actually make sense. So if we have none of these issues, we know we're doing a good job. Okay? Way number 2, let me show you another way. So that's one way. Second way is, say you're browsing through the site and something maybe looks a bit broken, right? It's a bit hard. No, but let's really mess up this page, right? Let's inspect it and just kind of go nuts. These don't make sense. Is that okay? So say, for example, there's some malformed data like this, right? Notice on every page, universally throughout the site, there's a little friend here. There's a feedback button. That's everywhere. And that's just not on the doc site. That's on almost everything we expose. So you click feedback, and you have a little form here where you can add a message. Page looks odd. And you can choose to share your name or not. If you do share your name, we'll follow up with you and say, hey, thank you, we fixed it. And we might send you some swag or something. But maybe you don't want to share that. That's cool. And then here's what I want to show you. There's a little checkbox here for thank you so much. It's human. I'm not nervous, okay? It's just hot anyway. So there's a little thing here that says include a screenshot. Okay? And when you click this, watch this. So it asks you, this is browser behavior. I didn't code, Chrome has this built in. So it asks you, what do you want to share? This tab? Or another tab? Maybe you want to ask for help about something else? Or a window? Your entire screen? And you can choose, right? And when you click share, it just takes a screenshot of where you are right now. Notice, it says this don't make sense here. And so I click send, and it's uploading a giant screenshot. So there you go. And now if I go to the clarification, let me close this issue because it's not actually an issue for now. But if we go here, what we should see, again, feedback from doc site, open now by me. And if we click it, Page looks odd. Here's a screenshot. This don't make sense. And so our people can work with this. And not just us, but like when we open source this, the community can just help each other. It becomes a beautiful open source thing. For those of you wanting to start out in open source, you could benefit from this by seeing issues and being like, oh, I know what API means. I can help. It makes a way. And that is how we make sure our docs are impactful. They're not just one-way communication. Hey, so by the way, when you blockchain the API and crypto and Ethereum, good luck. Right? Like, it's not one way. It's a conversation. Okay? So that is the third way that we are making sure our docs are impactful. So I'm going to circle back now. Did you enjoy the demos? Was that fun? Thank you. Thank you. Let's talk about takeaways. As I said, I came here to be inspired. Believe you me, I am. But I'm also here to inspire. And I hope I've inspired you in some way already. If I have, tweet it maybe and at me. I don't know. But if not, there's still time. I've got some takeaways for you. I want you to, if you're able, leave here and think about these things. Because I really believe if you're either in DevRel or you're getting into DevRel, or maybe even you're just an engineer who's curious, whatever it may be, I feel like there's something here for everybody in your career. There certainly was for me. And by the way, all of this is not me like preaching, right? This is lived experience. I've experienced these things that I want to share with you, okay? So, number one, adopt a service mindset. I've seen the worst docs, and not just docs, the worst of the DevRel I've seen is when people, one, just feel like, no, they should just get it. I'm not going to explain. Are you kidding me? Everybody knows what API means. Can't have that. Can't have that. We have to serve. I've seen the greatest leaders be the best servants. You know what I'm saying? We need to understand, as a developer advocate, we advocate on behalf of the user and on behalf of the company. We're like in the middle. And we serve two masters in this case. We serve both. Service is key. Number two, set up, look, if this can sound like toxic productivity. That's not what I'm saying here. High is relative, but I would suggest setting a high bar where you're comfortable mental health-wise. You know what I'm saying? So don't burn out. Nobody wants that. But I do suggest thinking about the extra mile. Look, when we were creating this doc site, nobody thought about, what happens if I highlight text? Can I clarify? Nobody thought about this. But it was within reach. It was a shower thought with value. And so I said, you know what? It's going to cost more time before we call this done, but let's do it. Let's do it so I can talk about it at a conference. No, let's do it so that people can be served. The screenshot thing, it wasn't an afterthought, but we try to go the extra mile and set a high bar because, hey, when you set a high bar, like if you reach for the moon, worst case, you land among the stars. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? All right, number three, reduce human error. Look, I'm a human being. I've made mistakes. My life, my career on this stage, that's what we do. And oftentimes for me, I learn from mistakes. I get better, but that doesn't mean I don't make mistakes, okay? I made a mistake maybe wearing 2 layers here, for example, but it's hot, these lights. But we take every opportunity to offload stuff to machines that are unit tested and can behave predictably because if I'm honest with myself, I cannot. So we take every opportunity to reduce human error. We offload the static site generation to something else. We offload the search to Xata. And we also account, by the way, for cases where there is human error, right? Like with this clarify this or feedback button. We know we can make mistakes. We're not perfect, and we embrace it and build in safeguards around it. So those are my 3 takeaways. OSCAFEST 2022. I want to say thank you for having me. I am so inspired. Woo! Thank you.